Hey, what's up, guys? Andrew from American Musical Supply here at Winter NAMM 2020. I'm with Mr. Dean Brown. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's good. Well, we're in the Xotic booth, and I just wanted to talk to you about your relationship with Xotic and how you came to be playing their instruments and the effects and things like that. So why don't we start out with your guitar?
All right, with the guitar, before I had this guitar, I got the Strat style, which and that one is maple neck, and that one they didn't build for me. That one I chose it out of there was 8 or 9 of them, and I like that one the best. And so that and it was up until I got this guitar, that guitar was my favorite instrument.
So can I ask you a question then about that Strat style guitar? Like, what was it because there's so many people making guitars in that kind of lineage. Like, so what was it about that particular instrument that really spoke to you as a player?
Well, there's a couple of things. First place, they do everything in house, and so the quality control is amazing. Now, the other thing about that instrument was that was the first instrument that I ever played that had a roasted maple neck. That's a game changer because it's so stable and so solid. So it has a whammy bar on it. So it's an amazingly even sounding and even playing guitar, and the way the maple. The roasted. This was also a roasted maple. We'll get to it in a minute, but the roasted maple neck feels like if you're playing like a 59 Strat or something, because of there's no moisture left in the wood, and so it just has that feeling of an instrument that, even though it's brand new, has been played a lot.
Gotcha.
And so that's the primary thing, and of course. At the end of the day, you got to plug it in, and it's got to sound good. And they're like Fender guitars, but on steroids. And not in terms of being louder or strong. Just it's about the quality control. I think that's that's the biggest issue. It's like they're set up so well, and they're just such beautiful playing instruments, and then aesthetically, they're just beautiful.
That's cool.
That one is Relict. And again, I didn't choose it. I only chose it based on the way it felt and the way it sounded. So it happened to be like kind of a light relicking on that particular instrument.
Gotcha.
But people seem to like it when they see it.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. So what made you change over to like the Tele voice?
Well, I play a lot of sort of groove-oriented music. My music is a lot of it is groove-oriented, and I wanted something that was good for playing rhythm, but also something that that would cut. Even if I'm not using the bridge pickup, I still wanted to like kind of bite a little bit, and not so much treble, but mid-range, and Telecasters, that's what they do,
right.
But this guitar is so amazing for rhythm, but it's also like for solo sounds, it's phenomenal, especially because I chose to have a humbucker as opposed to the classic like sort of lipstick.
Gotcha. So are these the raw vintage pickups in this?
Pardon me?
Are these raw vintage pickups?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What do you like about those?
Andy's looking at me like, don't screw it up. It's like, no. But pardon me?
What do you like about the raw vintage pickups?
Again, first place, that the quality control is because they're making them, But the raw vintage, they really make an effort to try to sort of replicate that sort of late 50s, early 60s type of sound from the pickup. So I'm not a technical guy, but I think they've pretty much achieved what they were going for. You know,
it's all about the feel.
Like I said, Andy knows a lot more about it than I do. You know, it's about the sort of spec side of it. You know,
for sure. But the feel is so important in picking an instrument.
But the raw vintage pickups are obviously, they put as much thought into that as they have into the woods and to the overall design of the instrument. So it shows.
Very cool. Now, I understand you also use several Xotic Effects as well?
I do. Matter of fact, the ones that are on the board here, I use this one because this is the high impedance version. So this is a volume pedal, and so it obviously works better with electric guitar. And I use the wah pedal, which is wonderful. It's very malleable because of all the different settings that you can do. But it's not complicated. The danger with a lot of knobs, a lot of times, it's like I'm turning knobs and nothing's happening. Right. But this is it's pretty easy to dial it in, and if it's easy for me to dial it in, then it's easy for anybody because I'm not patient. It's like I just want the damn thing to sound good.
Right. I get it.
So I use the BB Plus.
Okay.
The reason why is probably more than any other reason is because it's pretty transparent. There's two effects in one there. There's sort of the distortion and the overdrive, kind of sort of feeling to it. But it responds really well to your volume control, which is a nice thing. So you can leave it on if you're into that type of, sort of more of a, like sort of an amp overdrive type of experience. I use the RoboTalk. And I've been using the Super Suite because I like that it's breaks up a little bit. It's a little warmer. It's still clean. It's like, I guess we should, I don't know if you can hear it. If you got. So it's still clean for what I need for playing sort of quote unquote jazz oriented type things. But it's just broader. It's like fattens it up a little bit. So it's.
Where do you run that in your signal chain? Do you run it kind of more towards the front?
I definitely run it more towards the end.
Okay.
Because if you run it towards the front, and again maybe Andy would know more about this than I do, but if you run it more towards the front, then it's going to affect all the other. And sometimes it's a little too much for certain things like the RoboTalk and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
It's like I can't control the thing because it's not as tactile. Once there's a lot of signal going through a pedal.
Sure.
So I use that.
That's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah, and as far as the volume pedal is not at the end of the chain. The volume pedal is almost at the end, but then I put my delays and like any kind of weird chorusing, stuff like that. I put that post the volume pedal, especially delays. Or if you're using some sort of reverb or something like that. Because anything like that, it just gets amplified, and so you're getting probably more of it than you want.
Gotcha. So in terms of the volume pedal, that's always an interesting one for guitar players. There's a lot of them on the market, and people can be very picky about volume pedals they use.
I'm super picky about them. The thing about this volume pedal, and it's funny, the guy said, try it. If you don't like it, take it off your board. But the thing about this pedal it's linear. The thing doesn't, like a lot of volume pedals, it's like an on and off switch.
Right.
You know, it's like you get halfway up the pedal and all of a sudden then you start hearing something. This is right from the beginning all the way to the end. You can hear a difference.
Great.
And so that's super important to me. And I rely on the volume pedal heavily because I like to be able to combine the idea of using like a BB plus and then rolling off and getting the exact sound I want, but now getting it at whatever level I want. So that's a different experience than some guitar players want to do.
Yeah.
You know, they want it all to be sort of natural, you know, whatever. But I don't care about that. I want it to be usable, so that I can use it in a live setting. You know, in the studio it's a different animal because you just turn the damn thing up until it sounds good, and let the engineer deal with it, right? But live, you know, you don't want to be out of balance, you know what I mean? So that it enables me to live inside the mix, but with the sound that I'm looking for.
Sure.
You know, so
that's really cool. Very cool. So thank you. So what projects are you working on right now, and where can people find out more about what you're doing?
Well, I've put out a couple of instructional videos for my music masterclass. I just did one on improvising. That's a 3-part series. That's it's pretty comprehensive, and if it wasn't me, I would recommend it. but it's pretty cool, and I would go there anyway to check out their stuff. I did a previous one on upper structure triads, which I think was pretty well received. But this one, if you really want to get your improvising skills, not necessarily together, but moving in the right direction, I think this would be a good thing to check out. So anyway, I do a lot of that. Of course, I'm at MI once a week as sort of a labor of love to I feel like guys that are players should pay forward their whatever little knowledge they have, Been doing, my own band, of course. That's the sort of main focus, and working on a European tour coming up, probably in May, and then another one in July during sort of the festival season. Before that, though, I'm playing the Baked Potato on the 29th of February. So we do that every 4 years. No, I'm kidding. But I was funny. I was like, this is leap. It's like a leap gig, but
regular leap gig.
Yeah, it's our regular leap gig.
Right.
But it's but that gig is really fun. It's the band has been together for a while, so people know when they go there, they're going to hear a strong presentation and a powerful one. So that's I'm always excited to do that. And then I've got this rather big project coming up at Berks Jazz Festival, which is in sort of Reading, Pennsylvania. It's a very popular jazz festival during that time of year. And this thing's called Summer of Love Evolution. What I'm doing is I'm taking the music from the sort of late 60s, early 70s, just after the quote-unquote Summer of Love. And that music that was so affected by that time and that environment and stuff, and trying to draw a correlation between that music and how that music affected jazz, because that was kind of when jazz rock fusion, and that's when Miles Davis started playing electric, and all, you know,
Sure.
it was all had to do with wanting to sort of expand the boundaries of jazz. And so I kind of want to draw that correlation using the songs of that period. So it's going to be a lot of vocal stuff, and I've got a great vocalist, Honey La Rochelle, who's she's going to be a mega star in her own right, you know, and an unbelievable band to go along with it. Jim Beard on keyboards, and Keith Carlock on drums. A bass player that I've worked with for many years named Skylar Deal, and Randy Brecker, and Eric Marienthal. Mino Sinelu is playing percussion. So a lot of these guys were there.
Right.
And you know, well, not a lot, but at least Mino and Randy and myself, you know, and maybe Jim, you know, as well, because he's a little bit younger, but still, he was there, you know. So, and that's important, you know, so because it's, you know, that kind of stuff shouldn't be done in a vacuum. It should have a, you know, you should have some working knowledge of you know, the music of the late '60s, you know, which was an incredibly fertile period, not just in pop, but in rock and, you know, Latin and jazz and world music and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
So that's a big deal.
Very cool. Sounds like a great project.
It is. And so again, you know, talking about this guitar, I just want to kind of close out that aspect of it. This guitar is aesthetically sort of modeled after an instrument that I had that was stolen back in when I was going to Berkeley.
Okay.
And I had sold it to someone on the stipulation that, you know, I could buy it back. You know, it was like a, you know, pay for rent kind of thing. And then it got stolen.
Man.
Anyway, I had bought the guitar when I was living in Korea or Hong Kong. And I bought the guitar in Hong Kong, but I was living in Korea when my father was in the military. And there was only one existing picture of it, with me like sitting on a bed in a hotel after I bought the guitar.
Wow.
And so Andy, I sent it to Andy, and I said, can you make it look like this, like no relicking, just like a brand new, you know, and
wow.
Here it is.
Beautiful.
I mean, you know, it's not, I wouldn't call it a replica because it's obviously, it's got a lot of his signature on it. I mean, I don't know how many people know about, you know, the tuners and stuff like that on Xotic guitars, but you know, they have no, you can't see that they're locking tuners, but they are.
No kidding, that's cool.
Yeah, they're all like that. It's like it's a piston on the inside.
Okay.
That as you turn it, it locks.
Right.
You know, so that's why they're able to have, you know, Strat style guitars that kind of stay, you know, with whammy bars that stay in tune and stuff like that.
Wow.
So anyway, you know, the beautiful rosewood neck, and again, the roasted maple. I mean, if you've never played a roasted maple neck, go by one of their distributors and check it out. You know, because it's an amazing. Their instruments are amazing. Every one of them. It's like you can't figure out which one to buy. You know.
They are very beautiful. will definitely
beautiful
say that.
on a lot of different levels.
Different levels. Yeah, they sound great too. You know, that's really cool. Well, thanks so much. We really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It was a pleasure to talk with you. So, Mr. Dean Brown, and check him out online. Make sure you go see him live if you're in LA, or watch out for his performances that are coming up. And make sure you check out Xotic Effects and Xotic Guitars at AmericanMusical.com. Thanks, Dean.
All right, my pleasure.